It is Friday. You have all made it through yet another week in this wild, wild world that is 2020, and you're rewarded with a tremendous MLB DFS slate on tap for tonight. There are like 5 to 7 legitimate starting pitchers you could consider, and that's a whole lot more than we usually get. So let's dive on in and break all this down. Welcome to the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook pages. I am Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com. I will be here for the next 25 minutes to answer any questions you may have about tonight's main slate for MLB DFS. So if you have any questions about pitchers, stacks, one-off plays, general process, feel free to put those in the comment section on YouTube. You can put those on Twitch, Facebook as well. We'll try to get to as many as we can throughout the day-to-days. Any questions you have that may pop up, feel free to put them in there, and I'll try to get to as many as we can. The luxury of tonight's slate for MLB DFS is that you have a lot of different ways you can play things. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of different pitchers who are very much viable, one of which is Trevor Bauer, who is $11,400. Aaron Savali is $9,300. You could go there as well. But my number 2 pitcher is all the way down at $7,200. Yusei Kikuchi is $7,200, looked really good his last time out, a bunch of strikeouts, and he did that against lower strikeout teams. So you've got Bauer on the top end, Kikuchi on the bottom end. What's not to like? Different ways to play this thing. You got expensive stacks, you got cheap stacks. It is a great slate for DFS. First question coming from Jason. Another dinger for Buxton today. Jason, the answer will always, forever be yes. Like, my perspective is I have no control on whether Byron Buxton hits a home run. And if I tell myself throughout the entire day that he's going to hit a dinger, then I'm going to be in a better mood. So every day I wake up and be like, hey, it's a great day for a Byron Buxton home run. Even if they're not playing, I'm saying the same thing. I'm in a better mood. So yes, Jason, emphatic yes, Byron Buxton going yard. But not going to be in my DFS slot because he's batting 9th. Michael is asking, does the weather scare you off the Philadelphia bats? Yes, a little bit. So I was reading Kevin Roth over at Roto Grinders. He is the main person I turn to when trying to figure out weather stuff. And the way that Kevin does, I recommend just reading his stuff. I'm not going to try to, spoil the entire thing. So go read Kevin's stuff. Follow Kevin on Twitter, Kevin Roth. But I would say, yes, it does scare me. He classifies things on like a green light, red light, yellow light type thing. And he thinks that this Atlanta-Philadelphia game is a little bit sketchy. And you can see why here. The weather from Dark Sky Weather, it's going to be rainy. I believe he said there is like a flash flood watch or flash flood warning going down. That seems not great for baseball. So I am worried about the Phillies. Now, if there is any window of where things lessen up, and I think they're going to play this game, I'd love to go there because, as mentioned during the solo shot today, I think they're a tremendous stack against Kyle Wright. He's had issues finding the strike zone so far this year. Andrew McCutchen, the line's not in there yet, but he is batting leadoff. He is $2,700, a really good value play there. So I would love to go at the Phillies. I am, let's say, Michael, you are multi-entering for tournaments and you're okay taking on some risk. Then I think it's okay to go with the Phillies, and I'd like to because, again, I think that they are in a good spot here for today. So it depends on your risk tolerance. My risk tolerance is pretty high, as evidenced by last night's slate. It didn't go well, obviously, with Tyler Chatwood. My bad. But I think that I would be lower on the Phillies than I was this morning just because I'm really worried about the game playing all the way through. Alvin says, struggling narrowing down stacks. How do you decide? Good question. Okay, so Alvin, I think that when we have a lot of options, I want to go through my checklist. So the checklist for me is I want a pitcher who doesn't get strikeouts and who allows a lot of hard contact, preferably being in the air. I think that when we have all these options like we have for today, you can afford to do some process of elimination type thing. Like maybe you cross off the Phillies because of the weather. So you don't want to go against the Phillies. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The Mets weather doesn't look too bad, or at least not as bad, because it seems like they should be able to start that game. The weather not getting until New York until a bit later in the night. So it seems like I should be okay to use Mets bats. They're facing Humberto Mejia, and Humberto Mejia has never made a start above high A. He's made only 4 starts above low A. So he was good at those lower levels, but I think that the Mets are a good stack. So I'm not going to cross them off. I'm okay keeping them on that list. And I think that, Alvin, just kind of go through the other stacks you're considering and try to decipher what's the path to failure for that team. I don't see a lot of paths to failure for the Dodgers facing Justin Marja, so I'd keep them on the list. You could potentially I wouldn't personally, but you could cross off the Blue Jays because their bats have been terrible since they came back from their layoff due to COVID-19, so you could consider it that way. So I think that's the way I think about it, Alvin, is ask yourself, what are the paths to failure for different stacks? There's a path to failure for every stack because hitting is super volatile. So there's a path to failure for every stack, but I try to talk yourself through which stacks have the most paths to failure, whether it be a high ground ball rate for the opposing pitcher, a high strikeout rate, and try to eliminate things that way. Hopefully that wasn't too windy of an answer for you, Alvin. Hopefully that was helpful. Question over on Facebook. Austin says, happy Friday. Happy Friday to you as well, Austin. Thank you for checking in on Facebook. We're answering questions from Facebook too, so make sure you send those there. Also on Twitch and on YouTube. And make sure you like the post on YouTube too, because that does help us out quite a bit. Thank you to the 4 of you who have done so already. Actually, one of those is me because I got to help out the algorithm. So it's been 3 so far. Why not? Not above that. Peyton, 1 off at second base. Okay, so let's go to second base here. Pull up the things. All right. Not a big fan of Altuve facing Chris Bassett. He's pretty solid. Ketel Marte, the Diamondbacks are facing, I think it's Zach Davies today. Yeah, Zach Davies. So Marte, if you're okay, rhymes. Spending a bit second base, I think he makes sense. Biggio makes sense. He is $3,500. So I think those are the main higher end guys I would turn to. I didn't see where Luis Arraez was in the Twins lineup. So let's scroll down to this. It's A-Ray Adrianza, actually. And he is not going to be a player I'm going to use. So I guess we're not going there with Luis Arraez. I would keep an eye on Kike Hernandez. If he were to play for the Dodgers, I would definitely be into that. So second base, again, as always, looking a little sketchy. But I think on the top end, you do have the guys we talked about before with Ketel Marte. Definitely okay with that. And I'm okay with Biggio as well. So at least a couple of options to get you through there. But second base, honestly, Peyton, second base has been a nightmare for me this year. So I think it makes a lot of sense that is where you would be asking your question there. Yevgeny, downgrade Twins with Cruz out. So let's answer this 2 ways. Yevgeny, yes. The answer is, should you downgrade an offense when their best hitter is out? The Twins' best hitter is Nelson Cruz, and Nelson Cruz being out is a downgrade for the entire offense. That is not just for the Twins with Cruz. It's true when Mike Trout is out for the Angels. It's true when like Giancarlo Stanton or Aaron Judge are out for the Yankees. That's always true because even if you don't have Nelson Cruz in your stack, every time Nelson Cruz gets a base hit, it benefits everybody in the lineup. So that's what I would say there. Yes, it is a downgrade for the Twins with Nelson Cruz not being in the lineup. However, I'm still going to stack the Twins because they have a lot of value within this lineup. Jorge Polanco, 3,000. Miguel Sano looks like his timing is back now after he had a layoff due to COVID-19. Seems like his timing is back. Hit just a line drive dinger yesterday in Pittsburgh. Eddie Rosario is $3,100. Drew 2 walks in a single game yesterday. That's weird. Eddie Rosario doesn't do that. Jake Cave, $2,700, and Marwin Gonzalez is $2,500. Okay, so let's go to the Twins here. This is since the start of last year against righties, based on the active roster. Again, that one toggle on Fangraphs or the active roster is a huge key in DFS. So you can judge teams based on their current strength and not just based on what they did last year. All right, so we go here. We see Jake Cave, 52% hard hit rate against righties since the start of last year. Whew. But not a ton of fly balls, decently high strikeout rate. I'm going to use Jake Cave because he's $2,700 batting 5th for a team that I like to stack. But, the fly ball rate is not all that enticing. Marwin Gonzalez, 42% hard hit rate, 34% fly ball rate, lower strikeout rates. Although the results for Gonzalez since the start of last year against righties not as good as Jake Cave's, I might actually go with Gonzalez. One spot lower in the order, $200 cheaper. I do like Mitch Garver batting 7th too. So this is a roundabout way to answering Evgeny's question. But yes, I would downgrade the Twins with Nelson Cruz out, but I'm still going to stack them. I think the guys at the top of the order are great. I will use Cave, Gonzalez, and Garver. I'd probably rank them Gonzalez 1, Garver 2. I just like the power a lot. We'll go Cave number 3. Hopefully that answers your question. Alvin, any change to your pitcher or stack rankings from this morning? Yeah, changing my stack rankings because, again, Humberto Mejia announces the starter for the Marlins. I didn't know who was starting because they hadn't announced a starter because of COVID. They didn't know. I guess they didn't have anybody. But again, Humberto Mejia has not started a game above high A his entire career. The numbers there good, very good for Mejia. So like long term, his outlook for the Marlins is probably pretty solid. But in low A, a 26% strikeout rate, 12.4% swinging strike rate, good if it was in AAA. But it was at high A. In his age 22 season, that's pretty old for that level too. So I think that the Mets, from a stacking perspective, make a lot of sense. No lineup out yet for the Mets, so we can't break that down. We're refreshing here just to see if it's come out in the last couple of minutes. La-di-da, la-di-da, no Mets lineup yet. And okay, so no Mets lineup. We can look at what they've had out there in past days against righties. So let's do that here. Pull up the Mets lineup against righties over the past couple of days. All right, so they faced Max Scherzer for like an inning. They had Brandon Nimmo lead off. Dom Smith hit fourth. That's pretty fun. Andres Jimenez seems like he changed up his swing from what it was like last year, so I could definitely get behind that. So I think that the biggest change for me, Alvin, versus this morning is that I am now higher on the Mets than I was. Because again, I had no idea who they were facing. I should have made note of that. That's my bad. But I think that the Mets make a lot of sense for today from a hitting perspective. So we've got Nimmo 3,000, Pete Alonso, $3,300. That's a great salary for him. Definitely into that. Michael Conforto is $2,800. Michael can 40 points on FanDuel tonight. Let's go with that instead. $2,800 for Conforto. That's attractive. McNeil, if he plays, $2,600. So the Mets, they're so cheap. I don't know why they're so cheap. Probably because of the park, I guess. But it's warmer there today than it has been in the past. So I think that they get a big upgrade. And Alvin, to answer your question further, I would downgrade the Twins a bit from where I was at with the stacking because of no Nelson Cruz. Dirk is asking on Facebook, most runs tonight, what team? So considering all the factors, considering park factor, considering lineup strength, I'm going to go with a team that doesn't actually have a great park, and I am going to say the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're facing Jeff Samardzija. He's had 2 strikeouts total across his 2 starts. They're the Dodgers. So, Dirk, if you're asking me for one team to lead the slate in runs scored tonight, give me the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dirk is also asking, who is the worst starter going tonight? I would never use Cave. Yeah, I get it. It's fine. I'm not going to push back on you, Dirk. Again, the fly ball rate's super low. I don't blame you. Worst starter. So they're all major league pitchers. So I never want to say anyone's the worst starter because, again, these people have all made it to the major leagues. I could never get there. So I'm never going to say worst starter. The way I'd phrase it is the starter I'm most inclined to stack against Mejia. Again, it's no fault of his own. It's all he's a victim of circumstance with the Marlins just needing arms. So it's a really tough spot for Mejia. But I think if I'm looking for just a pitcher I'm most inclined to stack against, I would go with Mejia. Ryan Weber probably would be a close second. Again, it's kind of a similar situation where the Red Sox just don't have any arms to use. So I feel bad for Weber and Mejia being thrown into the storm here. But as far as pitchers I'm most inclined to stack against, Weber would be there along with Humberto Mejia. Derek is asking, who are the best catchers on the main slate? Derek, check out the banner. You don't have to use a catcher on the site that I'm discussing. I don't know about any other sites because do they actually exist? I don't know. But on FanDuel, you don't have to use a catcher. What a great thing. If you were to ask me hypothetically to talk about a catcher who I would not mind using in DFS, I like Salvador Perez. Let me check out the Royals lineup here. Salvador Perez, $2,600. Looking at his numbers so far this year, he's looked good. I was worried about him initially because he did miss a lot of time, missed all of last year, obviously, with that ACL. So that's definitely a downside, but he's come back. He's looked good. He's facing Devin Smeltzer, who's a lefty, gives up a lot of hard contact. Perez, $2,600. So hypothetically, Derek, in a fake world where I had to use a catcher on FanDuel, I would use Salvador Perez. I think that Mitch Garver is a good option too. So hypothetical world where I have to use a catcher. And I'm going to use Salvador Perez. I don't have to use a catcher, but I like him a lot. So I'm still going to go there for sure. All right. Cliff is saying, Conforto is a steal. I agree. And they are cheap because of their inability to hit with runners in scoring position. So that means that they're in line for regression. So that's definitely a good thing. We'll go with that. They've had bad cluster luck. Maybe we can phrase it that way, Cliff. They've had bad cluster luck trying to lump those hits together. So we'll go with that. And that's why we'll be into the Mets. I think, again, making the jump from high A to the majors, we are good with the Mets for sure. Josh says dying. Are there any other sites? IDK. The letters there are questionable, Josh. It's all about FanDuel here. But yeah, definitely no catchers is a luxury for FanDuel. Question about Fangraphs. Yes. Is it possible to combine 2019 and 2020 seasons looking at data? I'm glad you asked, Alvin. In fact, you can. Let me go here. So the way you do that, because actually all these numbers that I look at are combined 2019 and 2020 numbers. So the way you do that is you go to, this is the Teams tab. I have it customized. Like this is a custom one, which you can create by making custom leaderboards at the bottom. Highly recommended. You can then bookmark that tab. It will save all those custom things for you. So I've made custom ones so I can look at the stats that I want to look at. And that's why I do that. But then to get multiple seasons, you go here and you click 2019 to 2020, you click submit, and then it will show you, and also toggle the active rosters. Then that will show you, okay, so the players who are currently on the Red Sox since the start of 2019 have had a 103 WRC plus against righties. That's the information you want to know. So Alvin, hopefully it answers. Again, go to the teams tab, click batting stats, and then just click on multiple seasons, 2019 through 2020. Mateo asks, which are your top 3 hitter parks today in warm temperatures? So we can go over to the heat chart here, which is aptly named, given that we're talking about temperatures. I actually have the temperatures for each game here to give me a quick kind of shorthand on which games have good temperatures. A big one, actually, let's go to the hitter tab because that is better suited for hitters. Okay, so we have the Twins in Kansas City. That is not only hot, but it's also humid, and the winds are blowing out. So that kind of checks all 3 boxes for you, Mateo, because we have the heat, we want humidity, and we want the wind blowing out. That has all 3. So I think that Kansas City is a really good place for offense for tonight. Other high temperatures, it's a bad park in general for the Pirates, but it is warm there. That definitely does help. Same thing for the Mets, bad park. But this park factor number, I should note, this park factor number that I have here is based on the full season. And that's bad data. So sorry, I shouldn't give you bad data, but it's bad data because it goes to the full season. And if you take a look at the Twins, they're not playing in Target Field tonight, but you look at the Twins park factor from July through September, it's going to be a lot different than the Twins park factor for April through September. Because there's literally snowstorms in Minneapolis in April, but they don't have those in July. It's kind of hot there. In fact, it's hot, humid. So these park factors are bad. The Met Stadium is not a great park for offense any time of the year, but it's a much better park for offense now than it usually is. So 79 degrees, should be humid with the rain rolling in. I think that if you're looking for one park, Mateo, give me Kansas City as being an upgrade due to the weather. But overall, I think that we do have a couple of options here for sure. Question over on Facebook. Dirk is saying, thoughts on Tim Lopez? The Mariners are cheap and doing well. Okay, so the Mariners today are facing Antonio Senzatela. Not a lot of strikeouts for Senzatela. The problem is that he does, I know it's a 40.2% hard hit rate in this sample, which is 11 starts for Senzatela, 40.2% hard hit rate. But if I remember correctly, I think that he's a pretty big ground ball guy, and he's getting out of Coors Field for today. So I think you could consider going with some Marlins guys. Lopez probably would not be the first name I would look to there. Kyle Lewis he strikes out a lot, but I love Kyle Lewis. I think that he's still pretty fun. Let's see, Lopez here. 97 plate appearances, 22% hard hit rate, 31% fly ball rate. So no, that I want more juice out of my hitters. So I probably would not go there with Lopez tonight. Good question though, because again, like you said, they've been hitting well. They're facing a low strikeout pitcher. So I get the process that got you there, but he's not someone who fits it for me. Yevgeny is asking, is Boyd worth the risk to get more Dodgers bats and cash? So Boyd generally is not someone I am on. He has been changing his pitch mix. I lost a lot of money on Matthew Boyd last year because he would get 16 strikeouts in the first 3 innings and then allow 6 dingers in the next 2 innings. But He's been throwing his four-seam fastball a bit more. I think he's been throwing a sinker more too. No, I guess. Oh, he cut down his sliders. Okay, so fewer sliders recently. His strikeout rate is down to 23%. Great matchup, but the Pirates don't strike out a ton. That's kind of annoying. So Boyd is not someone I'm going to risk it with just yet. I want to see the strikeout numbers start to creep back up with Matthew Boyd. Before I go back there, I will inevitably fall for him once again at some point. Not there yet. If you're looking for a lower-end pitcher who can, Josh lost money on Matthew Boyd too. We've all been there. But if you're looking for a lower salary pitcher who can get the job done, I would say go with Kikuchi. Kikuchi, the fastball velocity is way, way, way up from last year. Like, it's up 2.5 miles per hour. His curveball's up like 10 miles per hour, which to me says he's probably not throwing the same curveball. Slider velocity is way up too. And what I want to draw your attention to here with Kikuchi is the teams he has faced. As I pull up the game log here, my internet is slow still. Okay, game log, Houston, Oakland. Those two teams do not strike out. Whether it's lefties or righties, they do not strike out. But in those games, Kikuchi's swinging strike rate was like 14.5%. He got 9 strikeouts against Oakland. Now he gets to face the Rockies, and the Rockies love to strike out. Their strikeout rate against lefties since the start of last year for the active roster is 25%. So Kikuchi, $7,200, really good lower salary guy. I could go there. Let's say you don't want to follow me down the Tyler Chatwood rabbit hole once again. I don't blame you. Last night was bad, so I don't blame you if you don't want to go there. You want to go with a larger sample. Julio Urias is facing the Giants. The Giants, another team that will strike out against lefties. The problem that they have, and the reason I prefer Kikuchi over Urias, is that the Giants are going to have a ton of righties in that lineup. And Urias can get strikeouts against righties, but his strikeout rate last year against righties went down to 24%. So that's why I prefer Kikuchi. But between Urias and Kikuchi, you have a couple of different options as far as guys who are pretty cheap, who can get strikeouts and have matchups that are just as good as Matthew Boyd. So if you want to get to the Dodgers, I would say Kikuchi be my preferred option. Urias would also be there. It does mean that you have to go with a one-off hitter if you go with Urias, because it would be 5 Dodgers. You'd have to go with a one-off at some point in there because you have to have 3 different teams, but that's still okay. I am okay with it. So those are the lower-end options I would go to. Dirk is asking, who is the lowest salaried player you would take? Thanks. Enjoy the show. Thank you, Dirk. I appreciate you tuning in and asking questions over on Facebook. So among the pitchers, I think the lowest I would go is Luke Weaver. He is $6,700 or $6,600. Let me see here. Make sure that, So Luke Weaver, $6,600. He is the lowest I would go. He's been really bad so far he's had tough results. So tough outing so far for Luke Weaver, but he's $6,600. He is facing a Padres team that definitely will strike out. Weaver's velocity in his first 2 starts has still been pretty good. So if you're looking for a pitcher, that's the route I would go. As far as hitters, I guess I don't know who is like crazy cheap for hitters, but if you ask me about like a specific hitter who is super cheap, I think you're asking about Lopez before. So let me look for a hitter here who could get the job done. I like the Twins. I'm not going to the bottom 2 as much as I love Buxton. That's more of a real life thing versus a DFS thing. So like Garver and Gonzalez are definitely in play. Ryan McBoom. I know it's McBroom. I'm saying it wrong intentionally. Ryan McBoom. The boomstick had like 26 home runs in AAA last year for the Yankees. Let's actually fact check this because facts matter. Data is good. And we have this data, so let's use it. Okay, so last year in AAA for the Yankees, I think he had like 26 home runs for the McBoomstick. There's no boomstick Nelson Cruz. We can get the McBoomstick in Ryan McBroom in there today. He's $2,100. So Dirk, if you're looking for like a really cheap hitter you can use, Ryan McBroom, bringing out the boom. The boom McBoomstick. Let's go with that. We're going to settle there for today. Chatwood was 60% in single entry tournaments. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm going to make bad recommendations. They're going to happen. And like I said yesterday on the stream, when I give a bad recommendation, it hurts me too. So hopefully you get some schadenfreude out of that at least. Last quick question. Worry about batted ball stats for pitcher more than WOBA, correct? Yes. So Alvin, if you search for, I don't have time to pull it up right now because my internet's slow, but like if you go to Google and search for FanGraphs stabilization rates, there is a really good article you can read there. And Alvin, I know you're asking a lot of process-based questions, so you'd probably dig this. you can see stabilization rates, and it will show you which stats stabilize most quickly. WOBA and results-based stats like that take a longer time. So look to batted ball data, look for strikeout rates, look for swinging strike rates, because the sample size gets bigger there quicker. Those are the numbers you want to look at in small samples. So I would make sure you check that out. Just search for FanGraphs stabilization rates. It's a great article, integral piece for judging small samples in DFS. And what I think, especially for you, Alvin, who seem like you are super interested in the process side of things, very much recommend that. Best home run call today. Jorge Soler. He's going deep twice, not just once. Twice. Jorge Soler, long ball for this evening over on Twitch for Ghost Plays. That is all the time that we have for today. Want to thank you all for tuning in. It's always fun to talk to you on the afternoon. Back again next week. Same time, same place. Make sure you're subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube page. Follow us on Facebook and on Twitch as well. Get those questions in. We'll be back again Monday morning at 9 a.m. for the solo shot on YouTube and the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck with your lineups for tonight. We'll talk to you again next week. Have a fantastic weekend as well. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A.